Yellowfin tuna off of Venice, 50 pounds up to 200 pounds, even bigger at times. You know, it's a fishery that you go out there and you never really know what's going to show up behind the boat. So in this film, we're going to talk about mostly about the yellowfin stuff that I saw. But truth be told, while I was fishing for yellowfins there, you know, next to a rig, an oil rig, kind of ominous feeling. You're sitting there and there's this giant thing. You know, if you're not used to that, guys that over there, that's what they do. For us over here, we never see anything like that. So to be next to an oil rig is kind of special, to be honest with you. You see, it's like kind of scary a little bit. And then at night, it's really kind of ominous. You know, I remember the several first times I ever fished around them, they got that hum and that moan, and all of a sudden there's a flame there, and you're like, it's a lot to it, you know? But that being said, you sit there and you go, man, what a wonderful place for a fish to hang out. With all that stuff underneath the water, you got all this structure, you got bait, you got birds, you got, so no wonder there's tons of tuna, yellowfin tuna are there, right? Well, now a marlin's eating the yellowfin that we have on. Oh, there's a blackfin tuna. Oh, there's a mako right there. Kind of an aquarium of fishing when you look at all the life around the rig, we call it. Let's call it the rigs. And so to me, yeah, it's pretty awesome to see if you're not used to it. So this particular trip, my buddy calls me, says, hey, let's go for yellowfins. We're not going to catch the big ones, you know, 50 pounders, 60 pounders. 50 pound, 60 pound yellowfin I'm good with. That's what we catch over here in the Bahamas. And you know what, it's something else cool to do. Let me get on the boat and see if I see anything that I can add to my repertoire, or what can I learn by going on the trip? Because you're always going to learn something, you know what I mean? And I really didn't know what to expect with the crew. I had never fished with them. Paradise Outfitters, Hunter Caballero, has been there for 16 or 18 years, has kids, does this thing, great freaking guy. I want to say he's 38 years old. Hospitality like no other, you know, just a regular rooster like us. Show up, hey, come over and have shrimp with us. You know, boiling shrimp on the dock and feeding alligators in the Cypress Cove Marina. Really cool, first class guy, has 3 boats, 3 45 to 50 foot cat boats, razor cats. You know, these things run through anything. And that was one of the things I can tell you. I'd never fished on a razor cat. And I've been on Freeman's. And this is more like the guy, commercial guy who's not concerned about the lead hitting the side of the boat and messing up his wrap or anything else. This thing is a frickin' battle wagon. Almost scary in itself to look at. When you look at it, you're like, we going on that thing? It's like, it reminds you of the old, like an old war vessel, like that would run through anything. And when you get on it, it's even more that it's spacious, it's roomy, it's got this house that goes around the electronics. Like nothing's getting through this thing, right? And you feel that when you go on it. Great platform for fishing. There's nothing fancy about it. And the commercial guys, this is their boat. This is a charter boat dream when it comes to not worrying about scratches and dents, right? He has 3 or 4 of these boats, and they're booked all the time. That tells you how good of a business he has, and people going to a destination out in the middle of nowhere. So I was talking to him prior to the trip. I said, what can we expect? He said, we'll probably catch some tunas, 30 to 70 pound range. You may get a bigger one, probably not. It was very straightforward. And what we're going to get live bait. Now, something we're very used to is live bait. So for us here, where we fish for yellowfins, you know, we're getting 1,000 live baits, 500 live baits, 1,500 live baits, and chunking and getting these fish going by the use of live bait, throwing them. And this was no different. We stopped in a spot just outside the pass. I watched them catch live bait. These are called pogies, much bigger than a pilchard, bigger than a herring, almost hand-sized, where there's a lot to this bait. It's a beefy bait, really, really nice, and these guys are, all they're doing, you know, you can see the several boats that know each other, letting people know, oh, the bait's over here. Working together. I liked that. Hey, come over here, they're over here. You know, remember, the water's really dirty there. You don't really see them. These guys mark them on the machine. Sometimes bait's easier to get than other days. So one of the things I saw right off the bat was, hey Hunter, come on over here, right where I am, they're pretty thick. Or, like if you were just there and didn't know, you weren't getting the bait, or it would have taken you quite some time. But the fact that they work together, and Hunter throws a 14-foot net, I think it was, 14-foot net. He can pancake a net. This is a fishing guy. I said before in the last film about Venice, the tackle was excellent. Usually guys who fish every day, their tackle is subpar. These guys, their tackle was fresh, their fluorocarbon was fresh, their 60-pound test fluorocarbon top shots were perfect. Their circle hooks weren't rusty and skunked, they were good. These guys were ready, throwing the net, getting bait, putting in the time. Now we had just run 28 miles to the pass, I believe, and now we're gonna go out to a rig. Now obviously there's several rigs. Now these guys spend so much time out there that they know we've been catching them at this rig, or we stopped catching them there, we went to experiment at another rig. They know where to go. So they said, well, we got a 45-mile run, I think it was, to the rig. But I think we're pretty much guaranteed to catch them at that spot. When you have the confidence that you're gonna run 45 miles, that's like us almost saying, I'm gonna run over to the Bahamas real quick because I feel confident. But imagine you had 5 biminis. There was a bimini up there and a bimini over here and a bimini with the oil rigs, where you got to kind of pick the right one, because if the fish are staging around one, you need to know where that is. I don't want to go over here, and it happens. I go 40 or 50 miles to a rig and there's blackfins, there's no yellowfins there. Happens. So these guys are following it around and they have a friend and network, which is one of the things that I always talk to you about. In fishing, whatever it is, I don't care if I was in Marathon this weekend and I'm calling back to get my buddy to try and give me a spot so I can catch a blue line tilefish. It's all about the friend network. It really helps you in terms of knowing what's happening right now and when it's happening. You gotta have it. So that's one hugely important thing. We talk about it all the time. 2, we catch bait. Tackle's perfect, boat's perfect, everything's ready, but there's an anticipation to get to the spot first. Okay, what do I notice? These guys ain't messing around. They don't care about the fuel. You're gonna pay for that later. Okay, and these guys were fair about it. There was no price gouging on fuel. They want to get to the spot before there's lots of boats on them. Now remember, anywhere you go, there's people down there fishing that are not fishing for a living. So in tuna fishing, the more activity on the surface, the more it pushes down the fish. So I could see the anticipation of these guys going, let's get bait, let's go, and let's get to our spot. Once we got our bait, I could see some boats go this way, some boats went that way. He was behind some, past them. He really made the effort to get to that area first, get some live baits in the water, buy live chumming, which we did, not to the extent that we do. Remember, there's a rig there holding a lot of the bait. The tuners aren't gone in 2 seconds. They may move up and down in the water column and they may move around the rig, but remember, and it kind of dawned on me when I saw it, you're rig fishing. They're gonna hang around, they're gonna pop up on that side of the rig maybe, and maybe they're over here on the sun side. But really we're working the rig. Now once you saw 1 or 2 blow up on a single or freebie that you threw, now maybe you throw 6, 7, 8, 9 baits, not like we do, 40 baits, 50 baits, to be able to hold them. The tuners are kind of there, so they need to throw a little bit less than we do. Once they got them going, okay, one of the things I definitely felt, because they knew boats were coming to where we were, there was a hurry to get tight. Let's get baits in the water. Let's hook up every rod. There was instantly every rod was doubled over. We could have caught as many as we wanted in the time that was there, in a short period of time. Okay, but it wasn't like we're going to take our time and get the baits in the water now, and while they're blowing up, every rod needs to be bent over. And we need to do this now. which they did, and you could see them with rods too. Remember, they're not always used to angler, and not everybody's an angler going down there. Me, I didn't even pick up a rod. I was more interested in seeing their technique with guys who didn't do this for a living. So I watched Hunter hook fish. Here you go, you take that one, hook another fish, take that one, throw a scoop of bait, throw another scoop of bait, scan the area, look at your angler. Now the mate's really standing with the angler. Okay, follow your rod, go under, go over, go under, go over, bring your rod tips together so we can see. There was really, and it was an orchestrated cool thing to watch a really good captain deal with his anglers and his crew and the gaffing process and the icing process once the fish came into the boat. But that anticipation and that hurriedness was there, the passion was there. That's when you can tell it's important, and what they're doing is it's second nature to them because they love it. So realistically watching it, okay, the rigs were no different, the rods were no different, the ability to, other than the less freebies, less live chumming, you had the rig itself. As boats showed up, fish stayed down a lot more. Bite kind of subdued. Fish went down. You could see it. We were already done at that point. But what happened was, he says, "Hey, we saw a blue marlin eating a tuna." He says, "Let's put out a blackfin." Oh, he slides closer to the rig and he's jigging a jig rod, catching blackfins. Now we're putting out a blackfin tuna live, and we're live baiting it for a marlin in the same spot. And as I'm looking at this guy. These guys are all trying to catch. Now the yellowfins have gone down. I don't see anybody hooked up now. So then as you take all this in, remember, a half hour made all the difference in the world for us. So if we got there a half hour later, and now instead of one boat, there was 6, those fish were down. They weren't feeding like they were. So that's the one thing I can tell you. Wherever you're going in the world to tuna fish, some places there's so many fish it doesn't matter. But when you go to the channel, you have to remember something. The sharks hear you a mile away. They already know. Here comes those guys, and they're going to start putting bait in the water, and then I'm going to hang out because the tunas are going to eat. Those, not only are the sharks tuned in, don't think the tunas aren't trained to the sound of what we're doing, okay? And that's part of it. The early bird gets the worm, the late bird, the guy who stays the latest without the least amount of boat pressure, is the guys that usually do the best. Can you catch them in midday? Yes. Is that normal? Not really. Early morning, late in the afternoon, those are your best times. But the truth is, if you need to stay the extra, or you need to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get out there so you're the first one there, gives you an advantage. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I saw. I witnessed it. As far as the rigs go and the tackle, they had all great tackle. They had some pens. Most of the tackle today is good. I mean, really, go back through the Yellowfin tuna films. Talicas, whether it's a Shimano or a pen. These high retrieve reels now are all pretty much awesome. But the overall rig itself with a 2.0 or a 3.0 circle hook. One hook I saw which was interesting, and I said to him, "Man, it wasn't a Mutu circle hook. It was which is what you see most guys fish, Mutu style circle hook, even offset. He was fishing a Hayabusa hook. It was a pack of tuna hooks, the circle hooks." And the hook was very nice. I took it out of the pack. I looked at it. Obviously, we caught all the fish on it. We never missed any fish. I think it was a lot less in the price. So we're going to bring that hook in. I think it was probably 30% less expensive than the owner brand. So that's one thing I saw that I did like. As far as the actual fluorocarbon itself, he said it really didn't matter on the brand. But he did have up to 80. He said, "I like to fish 80, but 60 sometimes, and even down to 50. Again, for some of those bigger fish, 200 pounds, 180 pounds, you probably get broken off. But for a 50 to 60 pound tuna, 40 pound, probably adequate. The other thing is, lastly, as these guys were fishing, You wanted, obviously there was no jerking the rod on a circle hook, but you really noticed we got pinched off several times. So what that means is the tuna ate the bait deep enough where it pinched off. As it closed its mouth, it pinches off the mono. So the hook never finds a home here in the corner. And that's a problem with guys who not doing it all the time. They're letting the bait get eaten down, but they're spending too much time to kind of come tight to really get that hook to come back up. So when you're getting a bite, one of the things and we say this in tuna fishing, man your rod, make sure and you're not getting a backlash and having to wait to get it out before you come tight. The quicker you can come tight, the better it is and to find a home for that hook. No different in Nova Scotia with 1,000-pound tunas. Once you get the bite, let the rod do its thing, let it find a home, and you won't get pinched off. That's one of the coolest things that I saw. Bleeding the fish was a must so that a lot of the blood comes out of it. That was nothing new to me. Not a shark problem like I saw in other places. We saw 1 or 2 sharks, but it wasn't a factor in fishing. Other than that, pretty standard tuna operation. Just that you were next to a rig and there was a lot more there. But really, really cool stuff. Check out that hook. I did like the hook. Make sure you can phone a friend. Your buddy's going to help you. If you're going to learn about tuna fish, this is a place where I don't want to say you're guaranteed, but man, you can go there and kind of put up numbers and do that. It's a great place to have guys go with you, put a 6 or 8 group guy charter together. And Paradise Outfitters was awesome to be able to do this. In terms of another trip that I want to take with him, I want to do a trip where he's targeting 200-pound yellowfins. I want to see what's different in terms of that, if there is anything. And I'm excited about doing that. And we will definitely be going back to Venice. If you need any information from me, I'll get you his number. We'll put it up on the screen. Call him. He's been doing it forever. But yellowfin tuna tips and techniques. There you go.